Hi, it's Gadget UK here, again. Yeah, again, done quite a few videos recently. You probably guessed by now, I've not got kids. We don't have kids. I'm married, so I don't have kids. And that means that obviously I've got a lot more time to myself. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses. You can look back, you know. I'm 40, just turned 40 by the way. So, I hope you can see this. This is the first beer I've had in about, oh God knows how long. I can't tolerate alcohol. One of my health condition basically means I have allergic reactions to everything. And whilst I can drink beer, you know, a few hours later, you know, afterwards, once it's worn off, I get major palpitations, like I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. So as long as I have an antihistamine, it should be alright. But the bottom line is, yeah, just recently turned 40, so I thought I'd have a few beers for a change. You know, if I die if I die just after my 40th, you know, does it really matter? I guess not. Have a couple of beers for a change, and just have a bit of a ramble really. I'll talk about a few different subjects and things. I've got some notes here. I had to do that because, you know, as you can imagine, someone who doesn't drink beer, you know, suddenly having maybe, I think this is my third, I'm completely gone, let's say. It's going to be interesting watching some of the gameplay on this. So anyway, let's start. I'm going to play on the Mega Drive here, unless you've, I guess you've already guessed that. People who've got Everdrives. I'm just going to play some Golden Axe while I just ramble on. We'll find something else. I might put a different system on or something. But to start with, let's just have a bit of a blast on Golden Axe. Funnily enough, I played this. I was playing on this Commodore 64 the other day. You know, testing out some of the SID tunes and things on that SwinSID, that Nano SwinSID chip. And as soon as I saw Golden Axe and, you know, heard the music and stuff there, it kind of really got me in the mood, and I thought, oh, I've got to play this on the Mega Drive. I'm sure it's pretty good. You know, it's a pretty faithful conversion on the Mega Drive, and it is. I've played it a few days, you know, running now for an hour here and there. So let's give this a go. It's very, very, you know, it's close to the arcade. This, you know, in terms of the graphics and sound. But you do get an extra, I think there's an extra level or two at the end where the arcade would normally sort of, you know, you would normally complete it. But anyway, let's see how we get on with this. I was sad to see that Monkey Spaz recently got rid of his Mega Drive, because he's a bit of a SNES fan, so I should have done that. There you go, that's the beer. Magic already. It's amazing what beer will do. Yeah, Monkey Spaz is a great guy. You've got to check out his channel. I'm sure I'm going to mention it, end up mentioning him a few times yet. But just recently got rid of his Mega Drive. I think he's trimmed his system, you know, stripped his system down a little bit. You know, his system, sorry. You know, got rid of a few, which I guess you've got to do at some point, because you start to, if you're anything like me, you start to get too many systems, and you can't focus any quality time on the games and the systems if you end up getting too many, and that's certainly the position I'm in right at the moment. I've got that many systems and videos to do yet that are coming out of years. It's almost like I'm starting to feel like it's a job on top of my full-time job. You know, I'm like, well, why am I doing this? You know, I think it's got a bit out of control. I did mention that in my previous Retro Ramble video. But it's easy with these things to look on eBay and go, oh, you know, a system, it's like £10, and faulty ones are even cheaper, you know. When I got my last 500 plus, not the one I just started renovating, the parents got me, they got me like £3. But the one I got off eBay last was £8. And when you start searching for faulty stuff like that, you know, and aim to try and repair it, when you see something for, you know, £7 or £8, it's bloody hard to, you know, turn down the opportunity. So you've got to be careful. I'm going to have to stop. Sorry, I've got hiccups now. I'm going to have to stop using eBay completely. I think I'm going to have to try and remind myself that using eBay is, you know, the path to doom and destruction. My wife is not particularly happy about the number of systems I've been buying recently, which is understandable because they just take up so much space. It's not the money so much. Well, it is the money. You know, I posted that comment on a few other videos, and people are like, "Wow, it's the money for me. It's not space." You know, that's certainly true if you live in America. They have a lot more space than we do, but certainly the UK and Europe, yeah, properties are not that massive, unless you've got a big 4 or 5 bed, 6 bed house or something. But currently living in a 3 bed at the moment, downsized a few years back in order to get the mortgage paid off. So I guess I've got a bit of security in that sense, but we've just got no space. You know, you can't swim a cat here. It's just like, it's ridiculous. This is is really faithful to the arcade version of this. I love it, I really do. It's one of my all-time favourite games on the Mega Drive. I think one of the subjects of nostalgia here, you know, sort of looking back at, you know, memories and this, that, the other, of looking at different games and why I guess we get these systems and games and things. I may as well go back a bit and sort of, especially since it's Father's Day as well, and talk a bit about gaming in general, computers in general, what got me into fascination with this stuff, and you know, I guess ultimately has ended up with me collecting a load of this old equipment, you know, in modern day. And I guess as a child, you know, when I was growing up, there was not much, you know, computers were new, they really were, you know. You were lucky if you had one at school. In my primary school we had a BBC, I think it was Model B. Straight away I was just like totally obsessed with it, you know. A bit like, I think it's the same sort of story as Alison. Alison was saying one of the first computers she grew up with was a BBC at school. And you get that, you know, you get sort of stung by the bee kind of thing. I forget what sort of things were on it now. It's mostly educational software, but there was a guy I worked with. I didn't work with him, obviously, I was at school. But there was a guy that I was at school with. I think he was a year or two older than me. Might be 3 years older than me actually. As I was at primary school, he was just about to leave. You know, I was there like a year just before he left. I think I was there, you know, a year before he left. He was called Greg, and him and his friend Martin ended up doing a lot of coding. You know, just doing basic, just only basic stuff. You know, like coloured text and messing around with the sound and stuff, you know, basic loops and basic logic. And I was just like totally blown away by colour, you know, because I'd seen, I don't know where, I can't remember now for the life of me, but I'd seen sort of computer systems before, things like ZX81, you know, and black sort of white, you know, mono business machines and stuff, like probably really old PCs and things like that. Probably on telly and programs like that and stuff, you know, watching programs and things, but I've never seen anything in real life. So the BBC was just amazing. You know, the fact it had sound, it had colour, and you could program on it in BASIC as well. I was just like blown away. So much, you know, I didn't understand and wanted to understand. I guess from there, my parents knew, you know, because I must have gone on about it. I guess, you know, you don't remember these things, but I must have gone on and on and on and on and on at my parents, you know, how amazing this, you know, computer was at school. Sorry, just having a swig of beer there. So ultimately, I can't speak now. This is the beer. Ultimately, my father. Oh God, I didn't press that. You're going to get a lot of this through this video, you know, it's to be expected really. But anyway, ultimately, my father, bless him, worked his arse off to be able to afford me my first computer. I don't know how, I think it was a guy he worked with, just happened to own a ZX80 Sinclair ZX81, and was looking to sell it, so it just coincided with my dad looking for something for me at the time. So I forget what it was, a birthday, I think it was a birthday I got that for. That was my first computer, Sinclair ZX81. Playing really badly here. Anyway, so yeah, I was blown away with it. You know, even though it wasn't colour and it didn't have sound, it was still absolutely amazing. You know, to own your own first computer system, despite the simplicity of the graphics and, like I say, having no sound. And those original ZX81s, I've actually got one in the loft. My parents bought me one. Again, probably about 9 or 10 years ago now, a car boot sale job. I've never used it. I tried it, I think, when I first got it, me, but I've never done anything with it. Well, now you can, I found ways, you know, obviously, of loading stuff from MP3. That's a prime candidate for that. I'll connect my iPhone up to the audio input jack on it, and should be able to, you know, play around with some of the old ZX81 games. It's going to be a bit of a depressing video in the sense, you know, no colour, no sound, and pretty limited, you know, functionality there. But there are a few games, you know, that I do remember distinctly playing. One of them was a game called 49er. If you've never heard of it, it's a bit like Dig Dug sort of thing. It's like, you know, in a mine, you know, sort of underground, you sort of, you know, make your little character go the different directions there to dig the little passages, little rocks and things fall down on the enemies. So that was really my first, one of the best games for ZX81, but that was my first system. That was one of my that's one of the memories I remember distinctly. I also remember a game called Black Crystal, which was weird. It wasn't based on a book or a movie franchise or anything like that. It was quite, it was a unique IP. That's right, beer drink again. But the thing with that, for me, I think why I remember it, and it was very basic graphics. Obviously, it was like the whole screen was just one big map. So you had like woods at the bottom, a valley sort of in the middle, a castle to the left, a castle to the bottom right. It was that sort of thing. It was just like this map, and you had this little your one cursor, your one icon, your one character on the screen represented where you were or where your party was stood. And you would choose which block to move to next, and it was like a time-based thing. You'd wait, 60 seconds to move or something. While you were moving, various enemies were moving, and I think there were pedestals around. I think they were called around the screen. And you had to collect so many of these crystals and get the crystals and put them on the pedestals or something like that. I can't really remember much about it. It'd be interesting to see if I can find that and have a go at that when I get the City 1 out the loft. But it was one of my first memories, and even despite how shiny the graphics and things were, and the fact there's no sound. It's funny how these things are so memorable, and I think part of it is because some of those games, obviously, it's the first new experience, but it's not just that. It's the fact that there's a lot, there's a lot there to the imagination. When your imagination, some of these older systems where the graphics are limited and the sounds are limited, especially text adventures, you start to use your own imagination to visualise the scene. What the characters look like and what's going on, sounds, background, ambience, all the rest of it. Things that couldn't be simulated on the system itself, because it's you stand in front of a graveyard or something. Directions are north, south, east, and west. It's that sort of thing. Your mind fills in the gaps, if you like, and you visualise it and you create your own little thing in your head. And it's amazing how powerful some of those things can be. I don't know if you ever played like The Hobbit. That was one of my first games on Spectrum. Getting ahead of myself here because I've still got ZX81 at the moment in terms of the story I'm telling here. But anyway, it's interesting how that works. Anyway, so I had that ZX81 for a few years. Ultimately, people at school and things like that were getting Spectrums and Commodore 64s and things, and being how kids are, you start to get a little bit envious and stuff and a bit pissed off with what you've got, and everybody else has got colour and sound, why can't I have it? So I must have again moaned at my parents continuously, and eventually they got me, I think it was my first Spectrum was a +2, well, first and last Spectrum, I only had the one, but yeah, Spectrum +2. It wasn't the A, it was the original grey one. I forget what the power supply is, like it's a 9 volt or something instead of the multiple voltage one. So yeah, I got that for, I think that was a Christmas present. Again, my dad slaved his arse off to get that. So it's one of those things, But I say these things, and it's important I do say them because, all of our parents, I'm sure, unless you were really fortunate, your parents had really, really good jobs and you could just have a new computer every year and all the rest of it. My parents had a hard time, my dad worked really, really hard. He really did. For, not massive amounts of money really. And to do everything he did and bring up his family and all the rest of it and never get in a mess, he did a bloody good job of doing it, and he always managed to get myself and my brother whatever we needed within reason, so it was hard work for him to do that, and it was really brilliant really, because it changed my, it shaped my future. I wouldn't be in the career that I'm in now and have all the interests I've got now had it not been for my father working hard to be able to get me a Spectrum. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I wouldn't have done all the things I've done in my life had it not been for the direction that I went in my career because of access to those things as a child. And it sounds daft, yeah, I played a lot of games as a child, but I messed around with BASIC and stuff a lot as a child as well. I touched assembler. When I first got my Spectrum, I did start looking at assembler, but it was a little bit beyond me. I wasn't the brightest kid for that age, so it was one of those things I looked at and it was like, I didn't quite get it, just didn't quite get it. There was some gaps, I needed someone to ask various things to try and understand exactly what it was I was doing, but anyway, nevertheless, yeah, got my first Spectrum. Things like Manic Miner, Jet Set Willy, those were some of the first games you got. I remember one distinctly, talking about coming back to text adventures, Thompson Twins. Did you play that? really strange, you know. Quite why they would make a game after a sort of current music band like that is a bit strange, especially text adventure. I think that came with the Thompson Twins' latest song. I forget what it was. On the actual tape. So when the tape ended, the game finished loaded, you could hear the Thompson Twins singing. It was bizarre. So you don't get things like that anymore, do you? I'm trying to think what else. I guess I had the Spectrum for probably 4 or 5 years. I would think. Got some fond memories of the Spectrum. Things like Target Renegade. That was an awesome game. I played that non-stop really. It was around that time when I was at secondary school, I think. Made friends with a lad called Andrew. Really nice guy. Recently contacted me actually. He's got in touch. We'd try and go to his wedding, but my health just is so unpredictable. It's like the other day was my birthday, and I spent most of the day being ill and not eating anything, not drunk. I can't drink. This me drinking on this video is the first time, like I said, about 2 years or more that I've had a drink at home. I sometimes drink when I'm on holiday. Usually if I'm hot, if I'm walking somewhere, and I'm sweating stuff out, it goes straight out of my system, and I don't tend to have as much of a reaction. Unfortunately, I just cannot tolerate alcohol at all. It has such an adverse effect on me. But anyway, so Andrew did contact me recently to try and invite me to his wedding, but I had to, unfortunately apologise. And it's been on my mind a lot since. I thought, maybe I could try and go to it, but it's one of those. I find if I go out anywhere, if I travel somewhere, I can be ill. I'm not kidding. For 2 or 3 days afterwards, it's amazing what an impact it has on me. And it's not life-threatening, it really isn't. It's one of these things. If I told you what was wrong with me, most people would go, "Oh, I don't, what the hell's that?" It's just like a made-up thing, I don't get what it is. And I understand that because, and I'm not going to say what I've got, because it's a couple of different things. It's not just one, but a couple of people I've worked. Well, one person I worked with in the past, Suzanne. She was off something like 6 months with a company I worked at many years ago now. And at that time, colleagues, and myself included, were sort of like, "What the hell's wrong with Suzanne? It just doesn't make any sense, you almost don't understand it. It's one of those things that you just don't understand." But it did fall under the Disability Act several years ago because they've proven that there are causes for my condition. They just don't understand how to solve it. So I've been like this for 5 or 6 years at least now. Before that I started, but I was diagnosed about 3 or 4 years ago. But ultimately it means that I can live a normal life. I can get on with work and stuff. I work from home. I do manage to travel, a little bit, but it's bloody hard. It really is. If I have to do anything for work, a meeting or something, I usually have to do it on a Friday, so they end up not working the following day or the following 2 days just to give me time to recover, and it ruins my bloody weekend. There's once or twice where I've had to go in to various offices when I was working at Warrington to go into the office a couple of times, and I go on a Friday always, and like I say, Saturday, Sunday, I feel like absolute shit. I wasn't doing YouTube videos back then. If I was, that would be a weekend where I wouldn't have managed to do anything, vegetabilised all weekend. But anyway, I'm rambling on and sidetracking myself here. So moving on from Spectrum, let's say, got Father's Day. Thanks a lot, Dad. I wouldn't have a future. The past that I've had for the last 20 or 30, 40 years. I'm 40 years old now. I wouldn't have achieved what I've done in life if it wasn't for my father. I'm very grateful. I really am more than grateful. Because good parents are hard to come by, as far as I'm concerned. So moving on from that, I had a Spectrum. That was about, like I say, I met Andrew. Andrew was at secondary school. He had a Spectrum, so of course we became best friends, exchanged lots of tapes and things, watched a lot of movies together and stuff. I remember going to see the Police Academy films with Andrew. That was great fun. Police Academy 5, I'll never forget that one, that summer. I guess on a side note actually with that, one of the reasons I remember that, it's funny the way my mind works, is I am, there's geek and there's geek, and I am a complete geek. There's no ifs and buts about it. I remember the strangest of things for the strangest of reasons, really. And like the Police Academy 5, why I remember that? Because after I went to see Police Academy 5, went to the arcade. I remember the reason I went to the arcade, the reason I remember that is that was the first time I played Xenophobe. And that game just blew me away, it really did. It was just the graphics and the sound and the gameplay there. If you've never played Xenophobe, you've got to check it out. It's one of those games. It's a love-hate. Lots of people go, I can't stand it. It's boring, blah blah blah. But what I love about that game is the persistence. In that you've got a virtual world there, and it's the aliens and things. I was always a fan of Aliens. That was sort of around that era. I've probably seen Aliens a year or two before. And I'm sure there was influence from Aliens into Xenophobe. It was a great game. Ballymidway, sort of think Atari sold it or something, but Ballymidway produced it, I think. Don't quote me. I've had 3 beers. Anything's possible. But yeah, that's why I remember watching Police Academy with Andrew. So, roll on, I don't know, something like a few 6 months, 12 months later. I must have left school, I don't know, I think I still have a Spectrum. Sold Spectrum, we had some double glazing people come around. And just by chance I was like, he was like, oh God, you've got loads of Spectrum stuff. And I did have literally about 500 Spectrum games. I must have had them all, 50% originals, 50% tapes that I bought with it. I didn't copy them myself, I had a load of copied stuff when I bought the Spectrum to start with. I've missed a step out actually, this is what beer does. There was at the time, just before I got the Plus 2, I had a Spectrum Plus, is it Plus? The sort of black one with the solid keyboard, and it had like an interface. It was Interface 1, a massive interface thing that sat underneath it. Not something that just plugged in the back, it actually sat underneath the Spectrum. And I had a micro drive, but that was a very short period of time and it broke, and then eventually, I got the Plus 2 after about 6 months or something. Sorry, beer interval again. So as I started to, I think as I left secondary school, I was a bit behind really because I was still on a Spectrum. I think that was due to financial situation, what have you. I didn't have a job. My parents didn't earn a massive amount. Some of the systems back then, they were better than Spectrum, obviously quite costly, especially with the games. So I think around that time I went to the YTS, started working in the computer industry, started studying sitting guilds and electronics, level 1, level 2 and various other bits and pieces in my spare time. But as a result of that, like I said, because I was working in a computer place, I started to have a lot of exposure to pretty much everything. We had Neo Geos, we had a PC Engine that was faulty one time, I had Spectrums, loads of Spectrums, loads of Abstracts, CPCs, loads of Amigas, loads of STs, but I would say probably 60% of the stuff was PC stuff. It was, I did also a lot of dumb terminal type stuff as well. You had a lot of these like Linux, well it wasn't Linux back then, it was Unix. Various manufacturers, I think it was like Xenix and stuff, because I don't know who made that, I can't remember now. A certain manufacturer that's got rights to a flavour of Unix, and there were Unix, you'd have typically have a big Unix box, your mainframe or server, call it what you want somewhere, and connect to it maybe 16 or 32 dumb terminals, sort of VT100 or whatever they were. So I got involved in a lot of repairs to those. At the time as well. Like I say, I would hazard to guess 60% of my work was PC and terminal stuff. But the other 40% was just all gaming stuff. Shit, ran out of credits. Let's load something else. I think I'll play something else on the Mega Drive before we just change systems. Still got a bit of time on here. It's going to be a long video this, so you might want to watch it in different parts. I might even split it into different parts. But nonetheless, let's give another Mega Drive game a go here. I tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on Outright actually, because I played this the other day as well. It's amazing how good this port is on the Mega Drive. Let's try that one. Not sure if it's going to work or not, soon find out. Sweet, that's worked. Let's go magical sound shimmer. Yeah, so like I say, YTS, working around these different computer systems and stuff. I was lucky really that I had exposure to so many different things. It was all it was all component repair. The guys that I worked with there were very clever, very talented people. So whilst I didn't get a massive amount of time to absorb as much information as I could, I did learn a hell of a lot, about repairing various things, various systems, CRTs. We had a lot of monitors and things in as well, and printers. How'd you got high gear in this? Oh, we go backwards on the D-pad for reference. So then I started to get, I had a friend Grant at the time, a couple of brothers, Heath and Paul, who were twins. We used to go down to his house and play the C64 quite a bit at weekends and things, and sometimes in the evenings. and that was where I played a lot of like Ghosts and Goblins, what's it called, Hyperball, Blue Max, various other games, quite a few Kung Fu Master stuff. So that kind of gave me that little bug there to think, you know, oh, C64 is better than Spectrum, you know, I wish I had a Spectrum, C64. So I sold my Spectrum to a double glazing guy and bought a C64. Probably had that for about 12 months, I think. Eventually sold it to my cousin. At the time I sold it to my cousin, I decided to buy an Atari Lynx. I bought a Lynx. Again, it's funny how the things you remember. The reason I remember buying the Lynx and when I bought the Lynx is I went to see Terminator 2 at the cinema with my cousin. She came all the way from Cheshire. And we didn't see them that often. It was the sort of thing, you know, we saw them sort of once a year or something. And just for some reason, I think my mum and dad might have been travelling out of the country or something, and I decided I want to stay home. So rather than leaving me on my own, sort of, they did a bit of house sitting and actually came to see me and stay with me. And I think we went to see Terminator 2, and you know, going back to the geek thing again, I was the only person in the cinema, you know, who wasn't excited to be watching Schwarzenegger and Terminator 2. You know, this is Terminator 2. Everyone's been waiting for this for years, for this follow-up. And there's me in the cinema, in the middle of the cinema, with an Atari Lynx I just purchased, brand new, you know, box open, batteries in it, you know, watching, you know, playing Xenophobe in the middle of the cinema. It was just comical, really. I'm sure anybody watching would go, look, you know, look at that wanker over there playing on that. What the fuck is he doing? You know, everyone else is trying to watch the film and I'm playing on the Atari Lynx. So I didn't. I must have watched about half the film. I didn't really care. I also didn't really care what was going on. I was too focused on this amazing, you know, handheld technology with a colour LCD screen. It was like unheard of. Short time later, still on my YTS, I swapped it for a Game Boy. Again, it was another guy who was on my YTS when I was at college one day. I came in with this Game Boy. I was like, oh, I've got one of those, you know, because the games were just great. I loved the sound on it. The fact it was stereo. I had an original Atari Lynx that was mono, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll do a straight swap. So I swapped it. He got the Atari Lynx and Xenophobe, and I got a brand new game. Well, I'd say brand new. Mine was like new. His was like new, both boxed. So we swapped over, and I got, I think, Super Mario. I was in low gear again there. That's why I lost that. Let's just have another go. Yeah, Atari Lynx. So got a lot of fond memories of Atari Lynx. I kept that for a year or two. Eventually, forget what I did with that Atari Lynx. Oh yeah, so obviously I swapped it. Yeah, get on the Game Boy. Swapped that. Did I sell that? I can't. What happened with that Game Boy? I'm not really sure what I did with the Game Boy. I think my mum might have had it. I think my mum had my brother's actually, because I'm not really sure. Maybe I sold it. I can't remember. But it was around that time because I was getting quite into the repair stuff. I started doing a few odd repairs myself and buying second-hand faulty bits off people I knew. So you know, I was exposed to quite a lot of things very quickly. Really, I got like an Amiga 2000, fixed that. An Amiga 500, fixed that. Sold the 2000. Sold. A bit gutted really. I sold that 2000 for 150 quid back then. And it was perfect. It was absolutely mint. I wish to God I'd kept that. It's funny the things you do, and it's the same with a lot of these things. You know, you look back and you go, "Why did you sell that?" You know, you end up buying it back in your 30s or 40s, 50s, wherever it is. You're watching this video, and you buy it, you know, because of nostalgia, because the games were fun, the games were a bit simpler. It was that time of life. It reminds you of a happier time of your life, and all the rest of it. You know, there's many reasons why people get these things, but yeah, you do look back and you regret, why the hell did I sell them? And there's just so many systems. You know, the Spectrum was one of them. I'm thinking, why did I sell it plus two? The Commodore 64, I mean, I sold that to my cousin. You know, I don't quite regret that because my cousin was able to experience all the stuff I had in the Commodore 64, all the Last Ninja games. I had loads of stuff. I had, you know, 50% of the whole library really. And it was all the best games I had on the 64. So I'm glad she could experience that. But again, you do look back and go, oh, I should have kept that. You know, I really do. It's the same with the Lynx. You know, I wish I'd not swapped it. And the Amiga 2000, the Amiga 500. Eventually I ended up buying a brand new Amiga 500 Plus. Had that for about a year. Got a bit cheesed off with it, changed it for a Mega Drive. Had that for about 6 months or a year. Got cheesed off with that. I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't like this system, don't get me wrong, but it's like grass is green on the other side. You know, I had a Mega Drive, and of course, the SNES was out. Try something else because I'm just playing awful here. Tell you what, let's put a bit of the Nintendo 64 on. thanks for watching. Subscribe, you know, give me a thumbs up or something if you want to see more videos, more repairs, more upgrades, more gameplays, or more rambles. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.
Maintenance complete on Falco ship.